champions select as we get into game number 1 between WE and Young Generation. Rek'Sai and Syndra to be banned away first off makes some sense. Venus has not seen his Rek'Sai so far, as the Kalista and Sejuani, pretty understandable meta bans here against WE.
And you have to wonder what the third ban will be for Young Generation to take away from Team WE, as respectively Team WE are just getting rid of the strong champions that Young Generation have got. Rek'Sai from Venus, Syndra from Null, and it looks like they want to take something from Palette as well.
Yeah, interesting, the Syndra being a 0% win rate champion for Null. All of day one was playing it, managed to get incredible numbers as far as that CSD is concerned, but still going to be taken away from him. 0% win rate, but a 5 KDA. It's pretty impressive.
Exactly where I thought it was going to go. However, Atlas on the opposite side with the last ban. The Zarya taken away from Mystic opens up the AD carry pool to be a big question mark as to where they want to look.
Well, that question is going to be answered very, very quickly here, as Big Koro is going to take away his Varus. Certainly has been something that he's found success on so far here in the play-ins. Only played it once, but did look good doing it. But the Jarvan being locked in first off here for either 957 or Condi is a big deal. Expecting the Gragas to be taken away from Condi as well as a good pick up there for Venus as well, having played it in half of his game.
Yeah, now this is a risk. You leave open Kog'Maw by picking Varus. Now, it could be that they want to get the Lulu for themselves as a third pick. Young Generation deny the Kog Lulu comp, but WE still get to pick 2 champions in a row, so they could just have the whole bottom lane locked in. And Varus, yes, good laning champion, but Mystic and Kog'Maw, 2 words that are almost synonymous for me at the moment. He is just that good of a carry on it.
Yeah, this is really scary. And things like the Galio is still up as well. One of the champions that has missed the ban list, and that's going to be locked away here for WE. And that is a huge front line now that the little Void monster can stand behind.
Yeah.
And have no worries at all. Of course, Venus is going to have a really difficult time, if he is in fact the one playing the Gragas, getting in there and trying to use that explosive cask to maneuver the Kog'Maw exactly where he wants him to be. But that is going to be that bottom lane that you mentioned, the Lulu and the Varus. A lot of high pressure to start things off, and Young Generation probably want to get the ball rolling as quickly as they can here against WE.
Exactly. So we've got the Galio locked in by Sheer. We're going to go through the second ban phase here, but quickly we have to point out that Galio J4 for Team WE is just the SKT beating combo, basically, right? They're that comfortable with this team composition. Young Generation, almost as expected, will go towards the Lulu as a pick, denying that from Kog'Maw, but now they've gone for the Thresh ban. Yes, that's good away from Ben. Will it be a Janna? Will it be a Karma? Because once again, the Ardent Sensors will be there for the Kog'Maw to protect him.
Well, Janna's certainly an option. Lucian's going to be banned away, and yeah, Janna is going to be banned. So Young Generation making sure that they're checking in on Ben, making him as uncomfortable as possible. Final ban here for WE. We'll see where it is going to be aimed towards. Both solo lanes now need to be filled up, and it was Ren that was playing the Gragas on the top side of the map. So that flex may not necessarily be there for Nocti, and I'd prefer to see him on something a little bit more meta.
And speaking of flexes as well, the Galio is something that is played primarily in the mid lane in the LPL. Never goes towards that top lane. There's a Lucian already being banned away. They're trying to get rid of counters so that Xie will have the best matchup for himself possible. Now, remember, the Syndra's gone from Null. He may still have something like the Cassiopeia if he wants to go down that path, but they're getting rid of the AD-based champions. Jason, Lucian have to get removed off the Rift. Young Generation, however, no hesitation on their picks.
Yeah, and it looks like they're pretty sure of what's going to happen here. I'd personally like to see 957 grab something like a Trundle and really throw it to Nocti, but we'll see what he does actually decide to do. WE having to round out their composition, and Young Generation understandably saving that counter pick for Null as well.
Here we go.
Ben planning?
Well, it looks like it's more than just a plan. We'll have the fabulous champion down in the support role, going to keep Mystic alive. Of course, one of the only tanks that can build Ardent Sensor in Taric. When you've got a Thresh, a Janna removed, the capabilities of having even Rakan, who's one of those other engaged-based Ardent Sensor builders, they're all gone. And so they look at it and they say, okay, we need to keep Mystic alive. The team composition's going forwards. We kind of leave Mystic to the Wolves if they all run past us and flank. Taric compensates for that quite nicely.
Well, they're going to add more damage to this composition as well, and I really, really like it. I mean, the Rumble has been a pick that 957 has been able to make work, but now they've got magic damage and physical damage coming out of their composition, and a little bit more well-rounded, because some of these Kog'Maw compositions have fallen a bit flat just because they rely purely on that little Void Puppy for the damage done. But Corki going to be locked away here for Null, and was a champion that he found success on day 2. Young Generation's bout here at the play-ins, and that was a 100% victory day as well for Young Generation. They managed to sort of come back against both of their opponents. 100% red side victories as well. So as far as chances here for Young Generation to find a win, this certainly is a good opportunity here in game number 1, where, as they mentioned themselves, not a lot as far as pressure on them is concerned.
There isn't a lot of perceived pressure on them, and that is what Young Generation need to consider throughout this first game, because right now, maybe there isn't any pressure, but as you load through Champion Select, you get onto Summoner's Rift, I guarantee you they're feeling some kind of pressure. It's still going up against Team WE. You're still the underdogs in this story, and you're still facing down the barrel of a Galio-Jarvan combo that we know Team WE can destroy people on. Now, that's not to discredit Young Generation's team composition themselves. I honestly think it is a fantastic comp. They scale nicely throughout the game. Cho'Gath, very good counter to the Kog'Maw. But ultimately, there's still the nerves that will play on you.
Yeah, it's really, really scary. But I do like the fact that you mentioned that both of these compositions look relatively similar. You just look towards the bottom side of the map and you think maybe Big Koro is going to be outscaled there by the Kog'Maw. Xie, always been a phenomenal mid lane tank player. I mean, I know it's been a while since I cast the LPL, Rusty, but I remember the Nautilus. I remember the days of him underneath the turret. Let's do it. Okay, so game number 1 as we hit Summoner's Rift. See exactly who is going to be able to pull out ahead first.
And you will be pleased to note, of course, that Team WE's bottom lane love to go for the most outrageous skins possible in Pugmore and the Baywatch Taric. They do love their Pugmores, to say the least, but hopefully Ben can save some lives, or YG may take him apart.
I just don't think a dog is all that useful if you're a lifeguard. That being said, Mystic might be able to prove us wrong.
Of course, the fans very much here in support of Team WE. They've been here all day, but suddenly they're a lot louder.
Fenerbahce certainly giving us a longer series than we were expecting. Team 1 looking better than a lot thought, bringing us to 4 games. But yes, the crowd now get Team WE and Young Generation going to try and make them as unhappy as possible.
Now we're looking at Young Generation's team composition. They've got the Varus Lulu, which is something that I think we should hit on first. Now we've seen a couple Varus Lulus in this tournament.
Yeah.
Some of them have worked, some of them have not, and most of them still lose the games that they're competing in. The concern for Young Generation is being outscaled and outranged, most importantly, by what the Kog'Maw can put down in team fights. But first, and now, they have pressure in lane. They have a pushing lane. They have so much level 1 to 6 control. And at level 6, that control increases when they get the Varus ultimate. They have really good capabilities of getting Venus into the lane to gank as well. And so as far as you're concerned as Young Generation, try and path from top to bottom, maybe get a level 3 gank off, and things will go nicely for you. But that pathing's already been affected, Atlas.
Yeah. That's WE just taking away all of the popcorn chicken of Young Generation. That's unfortunate. Speaking of unfortunate, Young Generation actually able to get half the health bar from Ben. Does have a bunch of biscuits that he can eat up. Otherwise, is not too much of a worry at all. Good stun comes out from the Dazzle as Pallet gets taken down low, but Ben, sub 200 health to start off this laning phase is bad news for the Taric.
If anyone in the lane of Team WE is going to get low, however, it should be the 3 potion user in the Taric. There's also a Targons to give extra health back to Ben. So ultimately, they've lost the lane. They were going to lose the lane anyway, though, for Team WE. They're kind of just trading as best they can. There may be a world where Condi comes down to the bottom side. I highly doubt it, given where he's already started the map off, pathing from red to blue, because he's closer to that top side of the ring.
Well, we'll see whether he actually is going to help out 957 or whether he's going to be called down here much more quickly as we have a look at the damage stats. And this is the really exciting thing about this matchup, is because the damage dealers are in different roles, but they do massive amounts of damage for their team. We're, of course, talking about Mystic and Null.
And this is one of those weird situations where WE like to draft themselves a Kog'Maw. You can see the comp is very heavily revolving around Mystic doing damage. Xie starts strong, will get weaker, but 34% big number for the AD carry to be doing when you pick a losing lane, similar to Pattern from Fenerbahce, of course. But their opponent's Null doing that much damage for his team after we saw game number 1. You have to wonder if the nerves come into play in this particular game, but ultimately that's still a big carry performance from him.
Yeah, and being able to rely on your mid laner that much as well in the current meta is something that we haven't seen quite some time. It has been a lot about getting behind the AD carries for the late game damage. As the game ticks over, we'll see what Young Generation can do around their mid laner this time around. Venus going to be spotted out as Ben gets the Dazzle on, looking for this, but Pallet's going to turn up. make it a 2v2, and Ben has to be very careful. Throws down
ignited.
the flash, and the ignite is there. Good heal comes out, but it's not enough. First blood goes over to Big Koro, and Mystic, now a very lonely puppy underneath this turret, does have to be careful of a dive.
And the 1v3 dog's gonna have to try his absolute hardest to hold on. Gragas is here. The minions are about to crash. He's got his flare ready. Save me, team, Mystic says.
Well, teleport is gonna come out from 957, and it was actually cancelled by Xie. Both of them, in fact, cancelling that one as the minion wave was dealt with.
That's a miscommunication, I think, from Team WE. It's fair to say it was 2 teleports used by Xie in 957.
Well, that's how important Mystic is to this team, okay?
He
You
is
need
the
to
MVP.
invest everything.
MV pop, after all. They need to keep him alive, but could have just been 1 teleport, perhaps. Ultimately, the cancel is the correct move because they just want to get the minion wave to crash. They want YG to back away, and it might actually be that 2 teleports were necessary to prevent them from going forwards. But we get to see the overreach that happens from Ben. Now, he just wants to force the smite, maybe poke Venus down, but Pallet has Ignite. He is here so early, and because the slow connects, Big Koro can just come over and try and snatch away the kill. And he will get that, the 400 gold.
Yeah, and also does invest his flash, so it does mean that Condi will have an opportunity to get down here and possibly affect this lane. Varus can be notoriously gankable without that flash summoner. Let's check into this mid lane. Xie actually doing quite well as far as keeping up with farm, but Winds of War will, of course, help you out with that one.
Yeah, so far as well, if you look at farm, I will say that the Jarvan's numbers are inflated slightly with the Krog taxes. Venus now looking towards top lane, only 14 to 32 relative with CS. But there's also a 10 CS lead in the top side of the map for 957. Nocti disappearing very early into the lane, going towards the Doran's ring with a shield. Does not want to lose this lane, just wants to hold on. To me, I see that. I feel like that just indicates that, again, Venus is not going to look towards top all that often. He wants to help bot win the 2v2 even harder, accelerate a big win condition for them.
Well, 957 able to pick up all of that farm and extend that lead to about 12 minion mark. Doesn't have the teleport anymore, of course, because that one was cancelled on the bottom side of the map. So does have to be a little bit more careful as far as when he backs. Doesn't want to lose out on too much of this farm. So Cannon Wave, that is certainly going to be taken in Condi here, just to make sure that he secures it.
And the one lane we didn't touch too heavily on, of course, we know how it's going to be going, was the 2v2 when we look at CS values, is substantially towards Young Generation. Now, a wave is building up, and it's going to bounce back towards Team WE. So in its current state, there's no point in Gragas being down here. Condi, however, will be looking at this as a giant target on the Rift, and if he wants to get a gank off, try and catch Young Generation playing Vision, and it's one of those small tests where you get to see how well equipped they are to deal with any kind of Condi's movements.
Wow. A lot of capitalization actually going on there in the mid lane, as you can see Null pushing that one all the way up. Condi clearing out his Krug camp on the bottom side, continuing his onslaught.
He did just tick over to 6, so keep that in mind. If a Jarvan is ever going to gank, it's usually at the level 6 mark.
There it is. Not wasting any time. Jumps straight in with the Cataclysm, and Big Koro cannot go anywhere. Condi grabs the kill all too easily and then just walks his way out. Probably grab a celebratory Rift Scuttler.
Exactly right. So he'll be able to steal the control ward. They're going to try and prevent the dive. Pallet very smartly gets rid of the explosive plant, which is a nice way out if things go wrong. Gragas is not here. Pallet by himself. Drake, not all that worth it when it's just the Cloud Drake, but you have Xie level 6 as well. He's nearby. They can protect one another. WE do exactly as you would expect. Once again, they hit level 6 on their jungler. They gank bottom lane. And that first test of the waters for Young Generation fails.
Yeah, still looking better than some of the other games that we saw. Of course, WE getting 4-0 in the group. Feeling pretty good, but let's have a look at this one from Condi once more.
Condi with a bunch of Kruglets running towards the bottom lane. We'll get the Cataclysm off nicely. Once again, the minions don't even die during trades like this. Kog'Maw has the wave in a frozen position if he chose. You can see the CS difference is caught up ever so slightly. Now puts himself into a relatively good position in the 2v2 from what started off rather dire.
Yeah, also isn't really too worried about it. I mean, you're explaining to me what happens when you decide to pick up the Relic Shield start. It's like, if I've still got my turret, it's 7 minutes into the game, I'm still feeling good. And look, they've got their turret and it's 8 minutes into the game. I'm going to call it success, even though they may have lost Ben quite early on.
Of course, for those who don't know, if you've got a turret and you've started with a Targon, you're still winning, even though you are going to be losing the lane, because the big win of this build is surviving. The goal is to get the Ardent Sensor quicker for your support. You will lose lane as a result of that. You can see the turret still very close to going down, and that was after a successful gank from Team WE. Young Generation playing it, honestly, as you would expect, just with that one hiccup.
Yeah. being able to catch up as well on the top side of the map as well. Nocti getting himself back in there. 957 trying to burn him up just a little bit here with the harpoons and the flame spitter, but otherwise not too much of a problem. Now Venus making his way back down towards the bottom side once more. If they can do that, that should be able to guarantee them this first turret at the same time, and the ultimate is going to land from Big Koro. Flash immediately from Mystic, and the Dazzle is going to stop the Gragas from making his way forward, and Living Artillery going to help even out the trade for Mystic.
Yeah, and of course at this point it's very important to point out that he has Cleanse as his summoner spell of choice. Didn't go towards the barrier, so Mystic smartly into the Varus will go towards that summoner spell, gets himself out quite alright. Means that the Gragas ultimate was used and ultimately wasted. However, when you really look at this, it was a good move from Venus to be at the correct place as Koro ticks over to the level 6 point. Still pressure in the bottom lane nonetheless.
Yeah, Ben needs to be a little bit careful. Seems like he's having a good amount of time spent on this bottom side taking damage. Koro does need to avoid the spit coming out of this Pugmore.
Awkward control word placement from Ben, was obviously doing it while he was stuck under the turret, but Condi's got the inside track here if they want to.
Yeah, well, I've seen this one before as the Dazzle's going to get flashed out of, but Big Koro straight into a Cataclysm. Wild Growth is not enough, and the ultimate's going to make sure they secure it from Ben. WE, they spent a lot of time down here, but they seem to make it work no matter what.
Yeah, both teleports at the last second, of course, being cancelled. On top of that, you look towards the mid lane, there's no packages, just blue buffs. Xie is still the faster roamer then, and so the threat towards the bottom lane tower now becomes very real once this middle wave is cleared. But suddenly, they choose not to keep going for any kind of big plays, Team WE. They want to slow the pace of this game down. They're happy with the kills. They want to keep laning. Nice flash flag drag from Condi. The flash out early by Big Koro ultimately signs his death sentence. Maybe wanted to hold on to that one. They expect the Cataclysm to come out first. It's a trust fall with Pallet.
Yeah.
Doesn't go as planned for Young Generation.
It was really well played by Condi, though, just to make sure Flash comes out, then he presses his R button. He'd already closed the gap, so there was no way he was getting out of range of that particular ultimate. It's just Condi once again, early game dominance. They're now on the Jarvan.
There will be
the Young Generation can find their way forward.
There will be a big Trinity Force spike for the Corki in the middle lane. The Blade of the Ruin King spike as well is timed super nicely for Big Koro if they ever want to, make those big plays. The package timing is something that they should be keeping their eye in on as well. And using the Cho'Gath, who has the Feast. There's a world where Young Generation could do one of the crazy, just suddenly we're swapping lanes in a situation where Team WE don't expect it. Get a kill top lane, break open the map with structures falling down. That's something that you have to keep your eyes on if they choose to make a play like that. Because right now, if the laning phase continues, if it's pulled out longer and protracts any further, they're getting closer to Team WE's items, and that's always going to be a big concern. Yeah, and the classic Team WE time mark as well. Just feels the longer these games go, the more it goes in Team WE's favor. And it's just that feeling that you get in your gut as well, watching Team WE. Of course, Young Generation able to grab a great first blood, but you just never expect that to be the end of a series when it comes to Team WE. They didn't have the most dominant beginnings to any of their games, but they're still 4-0 in the group stage here of the play-ins. It's going to take a lot more than just a first blood to get Young Generation over the line. It's going to take a lot more than just a first blood, and that's the most important part of this matchup between the two teams, is Young Generation, just through the play-in tournament, have proven that they need to be ahead early to win a game, basically. But they can extend their losses to a super long, drawn-out game. However, doing that against Team WE, as you mentioned, has got that 35-minute break point where they just come online out of the blue.
No matter what.
Yeah, doesn't actually matter how far behind they are. They're just that good at doing it. Yet, Young Generation are currently falling a little bit behind early on in the game, as top laners will say good day.
Yep. Nocti actually silencing 957 as 957 silences himself.
Doesn't unsilence him, however. It's not maths.
All right, good. 2 negatives don't make a positive or something like that.
Well done.
Okay, well, Condi sitting on his 2-0 at the moment. Does have himself a casual Spectre's Cowl to begin things off. Understands that there's a lot of magic damage flying forward, even Big Koro having a fair bit of it himself. Just to make sure that he can get ganks off onto Null if he would like to.
That is true. A fair amount of magic damage coming out of the entirety of that composition. When you look at Team WE, though, even Mystic is going to have a fair chunk of just magic damage himself on the Cogmore. And so the Shu is also on the other foot in that respect. They can both just stack magic resistance and see who comes out ahead.
Well, Null's going to see his blue buff being stolen away here. Xie is going to get his Colossal Smash on top of it.
Wants
It's
to
probably
steal it.
not going to be enough as Justice Punch secures it, yeah.
Wasn't a big rocket. His next rocket will be large. Of course, the red indicator now. Fancy new Corky tech.
Well, Nocti actually able to steal away the blue buff. No one here try and challenge that one, but getting it away from Nor is probably the main objective here for WE.
Yeah, it's not the first time that Nocti's done this either. So yes, they steal away the blue buff from Null, and that's going to be good because Xie then gets a bit more tempo in the middle lane, can control the waves. Corky's just recalled, in fact, and we'll have that package based off how fast the man is moving. But you are looking at a Cho'Gath with blue buff. We've seen him do it earlier in this tournament, and that does help out a substantial amount in top lane if it's ever a lane where you're being pressured in as Cho'Gath. The mana cost on his spells are ridiculous at times.
And now he can just spam them out.
He can feast all of the things.
Yeah, just yelling at them. I like it. Even throws down a Rupture on one minion. How gratuitous.
It's a lot of respect to 957 is what that is. The fact that there's one minion, he still just needs to throw out the Q to get.
Well, Venus hanging out towards the top side, but 957 knows exactly what's going on. Hanging out underneath his turret, make sure no opportunities are given to Young Glory's Young Generation's jungler.
Does look like an opportunity, however, though, Atlas, when you're looking at Young Generation, the Corky package, you're looking at the minions crashing, they could go.
Yep, special delivery. 957 does need to get himself out of here as there's the hero's entrance. 957 going to be well and truly safe. Get a big cooldown out, and they don't invest too much to try and stop that.
They choose not to go at all, Young Generation. It was close to making the play. The Gragas ultimate has been used, but you've got to feel like Cho'Gath not having his level 11 feast up because he used it on a minion earlier could just be the difference there in their decision making. They choose to back away. A lot of respect shown to Team WE and to Galio as the ult misses.
Yeah, and this is going to mean WE's push on the bottom side, teleport a little bit earlier, and they are going to guarantee this turret. Looking for the kills now. Justice Punch not finding too much distance further forward, but WE wanting to keep the pressure up. Exactly.
I don't think they're going to slow down here. Xie tanking for a little bit as well to keep the minions alive just a second longer. Null's around the corner.
Yeah, and Condi's going to find him immediately, just pressuring him away from this inner turret. They've still got that one caster creep that is going to ensure that this inner turret is taken one after the other. WE strike, and they haven't even lost that outer turret that went down so low earlier in the game.
They get that extra bit of control back, compliments of Condi's ganks, and you're right, WE were able to hold on to those structures. Nocti hasn't been able to get the top lane one himself just yet. Cho'Gath all on his lonesome, not the fastest of pushes. You've got Gragas responding,
Hey,
Corky responding.
Reset, surely.
Oh, he definitely does, Atlas, and all the AoE clear in the world for minions.
Yeah.
But the auto attack reset unfortunately doesn't empower onto structures all that well.
He just needed to build a Trinity Force. That being said, not going to happen, and Mystic's going to transition up towards the top side to try and get more of these structures down. Rageblade completed, as well as a couple of daggers. See what he is going to head towards, probably a Renan's Hurricane.
Yeah, as you would expect, of course. Blade of the Ruined King, one of those really adventurous other options, and a lot of
I feel like the order is up for debate sometimes.
Yeah, it is.
More builds.
Even the Wit's End is something that they could go for, depending on what they feel like is necessary. If you Mystic in this case, actually, might go Wit's End.
Good, yeah.
Yeah, lots of magic damage on the opposing team. There's Condi.
Yeah, there's a big double Cataclysm. It's in fact the Cataclysmic entrance as Big Ko is going to get evaporated, and it's a double kill from 957 with the equalizer from downtown. WE 4-1 now in kills, and it feels like it's just getting worse and worse for Young Generation.
That was so pretty from Team WE. The equalizer on top of the Cataclysm with the Galio ulting in as well.
Oh, and a party cast.
Venus just celebrates the enemy team's success, throws out a cast. Not too sure where that one was going. It was adventurous.
I think we know who was in charge of getting the drinks for the party, Rusty. I think that's...
Greg the eyes on him.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, Condi just going to celebrate once more by grabbing the Rift Herald. Mystic going to help out. It just feels like WE have more players on the Rift right now. After the two-man defense on the top side, it just feels like WE able to utilize globals a whole lot better, grab themselves that global lead, grab the map pressure. Now you can see pings going down to the outer turret in the mid lane. Xie shoving that one forward. That is going to be where they're going to be focusing their efforts with the Rift Herald to help them out at the same time. It just feels like everything is fitting into place here for WE.
All going according to plan. So ultimately for Team WE with that Herald, should just be the mid lane turret. Maybe more than one turret, depending on how they play this one out. Last set, we saw the J4 get a pick before they even tried to summon the Herald. This time around, they could look towards that. Galio's ultimate is one of the big go buttons for the team. The Cataclysm's also necessary. Summoners didn't have to be used in their last fights on the top side of the map either. It was just a clean take, clean kills, and a structure goes down. Mystic wants some Koga.
The old Cogmore gang. And Nocti is going to respect it as well, as a fair bit of damage is going to come in there. The Condi unable to find the knock-up.
Condi could have flashed with his flag and drag there to try and knock him up if he really wanted to, but...
That seems like something old Condi would have done.
I know.
Most definitely.
New Condi's changed.
Yeah, new Condi wants to win the game as opposed to get as many kills as possible.
Yeah, that's true. I still like the old Condi.
Oh, definitely. I like the one that gets quadra kills at level 2 underneath turrets and bottom lane, but here it is, that cataclysmic entrance that we saw before.
It's the kind of replay you could watch a million times over when you see combos like this be successful on Summoner's Rift, of course. Team WE making it look clean, making it look easy, but it's never an easy thing to do, as Harold, not Shelly, I see you all.
Yeah, absolutely massive chunk of damage comes out. We'll see whether WE can get more of this done. You saw Ben actually moving down to make sure that Venus couldn't take the short route towards that mid lane and make it that 4v4 as early as possible. 5,000 gold is now going to be the lead. 4 turrets to 2 in favor of WE and their control of this map. The vision on the top side, as you can see, fantastic, as well as moving down throughout the bottom side. It feels like every single base has been covered here by WE.
Their control is almost total, honestly, and we're at 20 minutes into the game. For young generation, you really have to look at what's next for them. The gold difference is only 5,000. It could be significantly worse, but they just need to hold on. They need to try and play this slowly and just get gold. Nocti not in a position to play it too slowly.
Not a bad flash. Sebastian Dazzle unable to find it there as Condi couldn't lock down the big Cho'Gath.
But you'll take that in situations like this for young generation. They got a turret. So they're happy with the outcome of a flash from Nocti for a turret. Now, that's one of the easier turrets left to take on Summoner's Rift for them. They've got the 3 outers. That's still a big win. The hard part is where to from here. They've closed the gold difference to 4,000.
Well, Shea actually looking for a fight here. Will find a taunt. Oh, in fact, yeah, Venus helping him out. Pallet shouldn't be taken down by just the Galio, though. As Shea doesn't quite have the damage that he's used to with some of his other picks. A heck of a lot of magic resist, though.
He still has a magic damage shield there as Galio. It's just it hasn't gone, and they've been using spells on him.
His Adaptive Helm and Abyssal Mask, Rusty. He's not taking damage anytime soon. And some Merc Treads. Someone have some big Karo. We need you, buddy.
Anti-magic zone is what Shea is right now.
Yeah.
You actually cannot hurt him with spells. I mean, he's got so many items. On the opposite side, I still wait for those spikes from Null. And even then, because he's a Corki into a Galio, the crits and magic damage makes you wonder
just
who's going to kill the Galio.
Pretty sure just shoot someone else. Try to ignore Shea if they can. But does almost have that Infinity Edge. And when you talk about Corki, you talk about power spikes. He gets one basically every completed item. And he only needs that recipe completed before that Infinity Edge does come in. So very soon, Nor will have item spike number 2. See whether they can actually make something happen. And if they can pair that with a package play, could potentially work out. But another engage from Condi. Yeah, 957 looking for more. Cataclysm comes in, and that's just the combo that WE seem to make easy in the jungle.
Effortless from Team WE. The flash was used earlier by Nocti, and like a good cooking show, they know exactly who to target.
This is the one we prepared earlier.
Yeah, pull it out of the oven, ready to go. Now Venus's turn.
Yeah, flash from Ben is going to ensure a stun, but that just gets the flash trade from the Gragas. And Null, in the meantime,
is winning the game slowly for young generation. If there's one thing you can take from it, Team WE finally hit the Baron. YG know this. Corki hasn't stopped.
No, and there's no one actually going down there, and we've got Big Koro taking down the inner turret in the mid lane. This could actually be a huge problem, especially if the Gragas can make his way in, but it's not going to happen.
He's going to get the turret.
Trying to do what he can. Yeah, this could even be an inhibitor, potentially, as the Baron will eventually go down, but is it even worth it? Condi locks that one down, empowered recalls now to get them back home, but this inhibitor is so close to falling.
He's going to get it.
Yeah, inner falls in the mid lane, and Null, he can die now, and it doesn't even really matter. He's grabbed an inner turret, an inhibitor turret, and inhibitor as well.
He may
not even be able to kill him.
Spray his face and yell, "Witness me" at this moment. He's done so much work for the team of young generation. He just got an inhibitor, and they've got a flash to get him in a teleport. This guy's a machine.
Well, we mentioned that Null is the player that young generation like to play around, and he just got all the respect in the world from Team WE after making it completely worth it. Like, straight into all chat, like, absolutely.
We have 40 seconds of the Corki being dead, but for the moment, it's absolutely worth it. The gold lead shrinks just a little bit more. That's the inhibitor where when the next Baron spawns, it's valuable to have taken down. So if he's able to keep going and keep split pushing, that could be the case. But even with 20 seconds left on Null, Baron buff being empowered for 2 lanes at the same time, WE will try and make this trade worth it ultimately in the end, even though they've made a mistake. And YG have punished them.
Yeah, we actually saw this from our previous series as well. Team 1 unable to quite make the Baron work. This time, however, WE are shoving forward. They have this inhibitor turret on lockdown.
Null's up right now, but WE still want to fight.
Yeah, they do find the taunt on the Cho'Gath, but not necessarily the target they really want to go towards. But there it is once again, the cataclysmic entrance. And it is going to spell once again the death of the big void monster. Inhibitor now going to fall down, but it's not exactly giving them what they need.
Oh, Mystic
in order to finish this one. Oh my god, okay, take it all back. Mystic living artillery lands onto Big Koro, and Null is going to get out of the death chamber and straight back in there again. WE do not want to waste any more time. It's 25 minutes into the game, number 1, and WE have already secured the Nexus. You can't let them get these comfort picks. Xie on the Galio, the Cogmore for Mystic. It's exactly what they want, and young generation gonna have to go back to the drawing board for game number 2.
And that's kind of just an incredible ending when you really put that into perspective. Null gets the bottom lane inhibitor, looks like the hero for them, and there's this really good moment where you're like, wow, young generation traded up. They were having a very good moment. WE said, what if we just run down mid lane and end the game because your Corki's already dead? And they literally just end it in front of them. So how's that for trading back?
Well, and it's the commitment as well out of WE. They know exactly what they needed to do. And when they were chasing after the Corki, it felt like a crazy idea, but they had the end of the game in their sights. It wasn't necessarily like, at 25 minutes, you don't think, well, the death timers aren't a super long and we just get one pick and we win the game. It's 25 minutes in. You would never have expected